go. All right, so on with us now is Keith O'Brien. And Keith, we've been discussing a number of different things, and it's kind of difficult, everybody's trying to figure out, what do we know about this that we don't already know? All right. I think a lot of it makes, some common sense. We're trying to get the small to the medium-sized business community kind of focused. All right. So that everybody understands that even companies like Cisco, they depend on some of these smaller companies, and that they're secure and their computing is safe and sound and everything like that. What are you guys seeing on the telecom side of the house?
Well, I mean, it's certainly, and I think it was mentioned by your previous guest, a lot of the threats in the enterprise are certainly moving to the SMB. The main thing, and I think without a doubt in SMB, is that we see they have, it's lucky that they actually have dedicated IT staff. If they have that, they're probably way ahead of the game, let alone security. And I think what we need to do is push the mindset, much like a small to medium business more than likely would quote unquote outsource their accounting. They hire an accountant. I think we have to really push the idea that, hey, if that's not your business, if you're not familiar with security, then bring in an expert. At least maybe once a year, get an evaluation, some suggestions, and implement those suggestions. But the reality is, and it'll be interesting to see what comes back in the survey. The reality is, a lot of especially on the small to medium business side, a lot of the owners of these businesses, they're a couple person shops, and they're focused on the day-to-day, and a lot of the security things that we're talking about are really back of mind. So hopefully through InfraGard and the things that we're doing here, we're going to bring some of those issues to the forefront in SMB.
Yeah, well, that is one of the things we were discussing with John Roston from Coalfire and Rob over at RSA. A lot of this is, not new science, all right? And even with some of the major companies, we're not talking about rocket science here or new scientific discoveries. We're talking about some basic security, knowledge and implementation all around the ring. The other thing we hear a lot from, and I'm just looking at our chat bar here. We've got a question here. Let's see. We got a question from Scott coming in right now. Are there any SaaS or PaaS, all right, cloud solutions that you might recommend as a type of proxy for an SMB?
Sure.
SMB. Wow. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. That's actually stole my thought. So certainly one of the options an SMB could take would be to outsource the security, not just bring in experts, but outsource it to the quote-unquote cloud, right? So that would be more or less, if you look at that kind of market, what the person is getting at is that you can outsource things such as firewalling and intrusion detection and email scanning and web filtering to an outside party, and basically all of your traffic would go through their devices and then come into your location from the internet. People, Verizon, typical ISPs, Verizon, AT&T, that service the SMB community would have those types of solutions. So that's certainly one option. The only problem with that is the only types of things that are being ported to those kinds of services are your traditional security controls, and sometimes that's not enough. I mean, and it's really coming down to having the business look at their risk profile, right? And if that may be enough, right, to take them from square one to square two. However, you got to look at the full spectrum here. There's certainly small to medium businesses that deal with the federal government. Maybe they're a larger target than someone who's running, I don't know, let's say a bakery or something, right? So you have to look at the risk profile, and maybe that's not enough for a company like that. Maybe at that point, yes, they outsource some of the just blocking and tackling to a software as a service type provider, but still, if they don't have the in-house expertise, that may be something that they want to look at as well.
It's kind of funny because, that's one of the things we do here at InfraGard, right? We leave the block and tackling to a lot of other people. It's one of the lessons, I learned with you and John, John Tierney from our board. Don't take a risk you don't need or don't have to take. put that
Sure.
risk on somebody else. And, you know, it's very much on point with that, right? You know, why should we take a risk if we can put it to Cablevision or put it to Cisco or somebody else?
Right,
You know?
yeah, sure,
And
absolutely.
you know, that's where, you know, the expertise lies. I wouldn't want to go in all of a sudden and do the security on my own bank. I'm not a banker. I don't know how the systems are set up, so why would I want to, you know, do something on the IT infrastructure side? The only argument I guess we can hear a lot of people screaming and you know, in the background is, how could I ever, you know, financially support this? I'd never get my building off the ground. You know, especially with some of the shops and, you know, I keep going back to that Dawn Verizon data breach report. You know, it keeps focusing on the hospitality industry. That's not a multi-billion-dollar, you know, company by company, you know, look. That's a fairly small entity.
Sure. Yeah. And so I think hopefully one of the things that'll come across in our efforts that we're doing here is that one of the main differences between an SMB and a larger enterprise is that even a decent size attack against a larger enterprise, most large enterprises can absorb that, right? Meaning absorbing it from a financial loss perspective. Some may not. But for the vast majority of cases, yes, they may have their image damaged. They may have to do a lot of press control and things of that nature. But it would be rare that they actually go out of business. Now, there have been cases of that, but it's you know, it's rare. Now, on an SMB, the scale is a little different. Certainly, you can go out of business, right? If you had your core intellectual property stolen, or just money stolen, right? You know, if you're teetering in your cash flow and you just had simple money transferred out of your bank account, that may be enough to just put you out of business. So looking at it from that perspective, from a risk profile or a risk analysis perspective, I think that's what we really have to get across to SMBs, and just ask that question: if you were to get owned by someone, and let's say they transferred money out of your bank account through a keylogger on your machines, what would happen to your business? Would it survive? Maybe, maybe not. So those are the questions I think that as a SMB business owner have to be asked.
All right, we're going to take a short break here, and then right back we'll have finish up with Keith O'Brien from Cisco Systems. Stand by, folks, for a message from our friends over at Microsoft.
Hey, I'm David. The other day I was hanging with my roommates and I was thinking, mowing down zombies is cool and all, but I kind of want to know what they're like on the inside. Then Windows 7 comes out, and now I can stream internet stuff wirelessly from the PC to there.
The zombie forms a loving bond with his fellow man-eater, the Great White.
Suddenly, the dead don't seem so dead to me. I'm a PC, and Windows 7 was my idea.
And we are back, everybody, and we're back.